Different day, different mug, different drink. Same Samantha, and same cheers. Friends, hello! Welcome back to Amethyst Craftworks. I'm Samantha, and good morning. Today I'm recording in the morning, so getting it in before work today. We've got our morning coffee. I've got my morning coffee over here in my Cruella DeVille looking crazy mug. Cheers! Mmm. Oh, coffee. I tell you what, Hopper had the right idea. Mornings are for coffee and contemplation, not for recording. I apologize in advance if I look crazy or I guess crazier than usual, but hello, welcome. Today I have a crochet along announcement, joining in announcement kind of video for you. The title will very likely give it away here, so I'm not like surprising you here with what we're doing. But as if the Movie Marquee challenge wasn't enough of a monthly crochet along type project for me to do, as if 6 granny squares and some appliques weren't enough for me to do every month, I'm also very excited to join in on the Stitch and Scream from Altknots. You are very likely already familiar with Kayla from Altknots. I love their channel. I've been a big fan for a very long time, and I've never joined in on a Stitch and Scream, but when I saw a couple of things appear on their channel at the beginning of the month, I was like, you know what? I have to. I absolutely have to. So that's what we're talking about today. The beginnings to my attempt at keeping up with the 2023 Stitch and Scream from Altknots. So of course, if you're unfamiliar with Altknots, the links to their channel, the blog post, the 2 videos, like the announcement video and then the Stitch video for January, will all be linked below. If you're not familiar, please check it out. If you love crochet, if you love Halloween, if you like me, you will love Kayla from Altknots. Trust and believe. So check them out if you haven't. They're down below. It is yet another thing for my fingies to be doing in a month. But I really like the idea of having like one set thing, one simple thing to look forward to every month. I really liked making granny squares every month for the Movie Marquee challenge. For this year, I've really liked making granny squares for the Movie Marquee challenge. It's been fun to like pick colors and figure out how I want to do the appliques and so on. And so this challenge, this crochet along, is similar, except instead of picking colors from the monthly pick, you are just waiting for the stitch tutorial to come out. So as I said, January stitch tutorial has already come out, and I've got some progress on it that I wanted to show you. But first, I did want to say, my color choices for the Stitch and Scream crochet along, I have mentioned here, right here, this, I've mentioned before, I should have said, this color is Red Heart Super Saver Cherry. There's a story with with so many of my yarns and things. There's a derp, there's a story, there's a something with it. And so with Cherry, with Cherry Red, my niece, my older niece, gosh, it was probably about a year ago or so now, she was obsessed with Elmo from Sesame Street. And I found a pattern for a monster-themed laundry basket from Nadia from Yarn Utopia. Since I'm talking about it, I'll link that below as well. But she made like a monster-themed laundry basket. No, bag, laundry bag. And I was like, OMG, I can totally turn that into Elmo for my niece. And so I got all the yarn, like 8 skeins of it, and was like ready to go, gonna make her Elmo. And then she decided, well, Elmo's not really all that he's cracked up to be. I kind of prefer Blippi and Coco Melon and Miss Rachel, who are considerably harder to make in crochet form. And so the idea of the Elmo laundry bag went by the wayside, and yet I've got a whole ton of cherry red. So I am doing the Stitch and Scream crochet along in my mini skeins of Super Saver Cherry Red. Although that's not the only color that I'm using. But this is the color that I started with because I've got so much cherry red that is otherwise just going to sit there until I have something else to do with it. So this is what we're doing with the cherry red. And so as you can see, I have one skein here that is way more than halfway used. I've done probably 2/3 maybe of this skein has already been stitched up because the stitch itself for the square for January for the Stitch and Scream, it is very dense. It ate yarn like crazy. Like, I'm not kidding you. This was a full skein when I started, but I've got a little more than halfway, a little more than halfway done with the square. I've been working on this for a couple of days. It's a big square and it's a very dense stitch. And so I was like, yes, this is perfect to use up all this cherry red that I've got. Because let's be real, Elmo is not happening, but this is. And so yeah, I'm a little bit more than halfway there. Whoa, living on a prayer. Anytime anyone says halfway there, that's immediately what pops into my head. But anyway, as my little green, neon green stitch marker here tells me, this is an even row. It is 45 rows, I'm pretty sure, is what I've done so far. It is 70 chains wide and currently 45 rows long, or 70 chains long and 45 rows wide, whichever way. But, you know, I've been marking the edges of like the 5 rows, so 10, 15, and so on, because I kind of had a difficult time at first figuring out, 1, how I was counting, 2, where do I stick my hook. You know, it took some getting used to with this stitch. I'm also, as my like progress keeper, this is completely like not at all related to the Stitch and Scream, but I'm showing, or I am showing, but I'm using the stitch marker that I gave half of to Heather. So my best friend stitch markers, I'm using that one as a progress keeper. These were made by Rose from Rose Likes Crochet. And if you haven't seen those videos from Heather, that was over the Christmas holidays, I gave her half of this stitch marker set because I got these for myself. And I kept half of one of the sets that I gave her. So we swapped stitch markers, and you know, they're like best friends charms, right? So any excuse that I have to use this baby, I do. So we're using this as a stitch, not a stitch marker, a progress keeper on my big old red square. But Kayla did say to pick a couple of different colors. So I've got black and I've got gray Ogos. Now, I mentioned before in a video where I talked about the blanket that I made essentially for my younger sister Alex for her birthday in November. I used gray and black Ogos with a variegated gray, white, black Ogo, and then gray and black again. If you saw that video, you will remember that I mentioned, as with all things, I way overbought yarn, especially because I got these Ogos when they were on sale, like clearance level sale. I got way too many, so I've got, I was gonna set them there, but Cruella's there, so we'll set them back over here. But yeah, I got a bunch of these. I have a bunch left. And along with the cherry red, I'm going to do black and gray. And I think, I mean, you cannot go wrong with this color scheme. I was going to say color scream. It is a color scream. It is so, like, gothy, vampire, harlequin. It's fabulous. I love black and red together. I love black and gray together. Black, red, and gray. You cannot go wrong. I love it. So this is my color scheme. And I'm doing oops, it's upside down, is it? Yes. So I'm doing these squares in Red Heart Super Saver, which, to be perfectly honest, as you know, is not the most luxurious of yarns. I think Kayla is using red. They're doing red, but in Furl's Wander yarn, I think, which is apparently much, much nicer than Super Saver, because their square is so drapey and lovely. This, on the other hand, is dense, not quite as drapey, but I have, like, no delusions that this blanket is not going to be, like, thrown around and used a bunch and, like, on my bed and on my sofa, and Ralphie's going to burrow into it, and I'm going to, like, burrito myself up into it. You know, it's going to be used. So Red Heart Super Saver is a good yarn for a blanket that's going to be used, and well used. And if all 12 squares for every single month are this big, what a glorious blanket that's going to be, right? It's going to be fabulous. It's going to be huge. Kayla is a tiny little thing. I am not, but this is going to be like a me-sized blanket, right? So I appreciate that. The stitch itself is called the spider stitch, and I know my light with this very bright red, it's never going to show it. I can try, but I very likely will probably maybe insert a picture over here, like a close-up, so you can actually see, because the stitch itself is very textured. It's very nice and dense. I like it a lot. It's been fun now that I've, like, sort of figured things out with it. I've really enjoyed doing it. Not sure if you can actually see the texture. You can kind of see it. I'm also not totally sure which side is the right side. But they're both very similar, and they're both lovely, and, like, there's a lot of texture. It's very dense. It's not like a lacy, holey type stitch. It's gonna be so warm and snuggly, I tell you what. And I think with red and black and gray, I'm gonna love it. And I'm so excited to be working on this. Like, I think Kayla doing a crochet along was like kismet, right? Like, I had to. I am such a big fan of theirs that I was, you know, so excited to see the stitch tutorial and all that. And also, since it's a Stitch and Scream too, the movie that they picked for the spider stitch was James and the Giant Peach, I think. But I decided that while I was working on this one day earlier in the week, I was watching Arachnophobia. while I was working on the spider stitch, right? It kind of makes sense. Also, like, Arachnophobia is such a fun, campy movie that it felt very fitting. But I love this stitch. It took quite a while to figure it out. And I can even show you because I brought it in here too. Since Kayla uses furls like almost exclusively, I gotta be honest, other than like Tunisian hooks, I don't think I have ever seen them use anything other than a furls. So I'm using, does the beauty guru hand behind even help? I'm not sure. But I'm using my Pisces furls hook. It felt fitting. It is a 5.5 furls hook. I thought, when I work, for example, when I work Heather's patterns, I have used the Susan Bates hooks that I've got because that's her preferred hook. Since I'm doing Kayla's crochet along, it felt fitting to use the hooks that they prefer, right? It gives me another connection to the person that I am working off of. So we're using the furls hook, and it's also very fitting in that Pisces season is coming. It is inching closer, and I'm not going to name any names here, of course, but someone that you may know might be a Pisces, might have a birthday coming up in February. I'm just gonna say. So it felt fitting as well to use the Pisces hook. And I think that's everything that I wanted to mention here. I have some notes over. Hold on, let me put the the hook down. I'm using it like a wand. I'm using it like a pointer. Let's set it down so I stop gesturing it at you. I've got some notes over here. I think that's everything I wanted to mention. Oh, there is one other thing. So doing this stitch, this is the first time that I've ever done this particular stitch, the spider stitch. It did curl considerably for the first couple of rows. I would say it maybe took about 5 rows or so before it stopped curling. And I'm talking like piggy tail level curl, like curly Q level curl. And then of course you can see I'm not like stretching this out or anything. It lays pretty flat. It's definitely not pigtail curl kind of curl. It's weavy, but that's because it's drapey a little bit, Super Saver's draping, right? But it definitely isn't curly anymore. It also took me several rows and maybe frogging back a little bit too, trying to figure out where you put the hook, how you kind of tell, well, where's the chain space and where do I work my stitch on the next row into, and so on and so forth. So this isn't perfect. My first few rows are quite messy, but then I eventually kind of got it, and I have been working on it happily ever since. So if you're working on it too, just know, yes, it does curl quite a bit. You can go up a hook size for your like chain and maybe the initial round, the initial row, and then go down to the 5.5 that Kayla recommends. Or you can maybe just loosen your tension, or just know that it does sort of flatten out. Like, it's not going to always be curly. So, it also helps to like start the row and then turn it back to the row, like turn it back around to see the row that you just worked. Then you can really easily see the spot in between the single crochets to then flip it back around and be like, okay, this is where I stab my hook, right? That's also something else I will say helped me quite a bit. Flipping it back and forth to see the row that I just did and then to work the row that I'm on. But it is a 1 row repeat, so it is super easy, and I really enjoyed working on it while watching Arachnophobia, while watching a movie. Once you get going, once it clicks in your head, you are good to go. And yeah, I'm so excited to be working on a spider stitch square that Kayla is doing a crochet along that I'm like actively ready to join in on. I have another reason to be excited for February other than the Movie Marquee challenge, other than seeing Bella's pick. I now get to wait for not only that, but also the next stitch in the crochet along. And so I was just excited as heck, and I really wanted to share. And I also wanted to know, are you joining in? Are you doing the Stitch and Scream, the year-long Stitch and Scream? Drop me a comment, let me know. Are you doing red and like gray and black? Because Kayla is doing, I think, just red and black. Maybe. Currently, that's what they're doing. I love their square in red. So I'm doing red, and I've got a ton of it. So it worked out fabulously, let's just say. So are you doing it too? Let me know. Give me a thumbs up too if you are doing it. If you're unfamiliar, again, the links will be down below, so check them out. The stitch is fun. Kayla is so fun. You will enjoy, I am sure, because I'm really enjoying too. And I think that's everything. So thank you so much for watching me here today. Thank you for struggling in the morning with me here. I need about 4 more cups of this. Oh, coffee feeds my soul, I will just say. But anyway, thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing today if you haven't. And until I've got another update on my spider stitch or any of my month-long crochet along projects, and I'm just gonna let you go. So have a lovely week, a lovely weekend, and I will catch you next time. Goodbye.